Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Sana Atayam. I'm the Education USA advisor here in the West Bank, and my colleague Marwa Shille, and we're part of the Education USA West Bank advising team. On behalf of Education USA Network, we would like to thank you all for joining us today. Our session topic is how to be more productive, tips and tools for time management, whether you're a high school student or college student or someone that is has finished your college education and is interested to learn more about how you can be more productive. We'd like to welcome you for today's session. Our guests today, if you can share that slide. Our guests today are Yasmin Abid and Molly Cox, and they are Education USA MENA interns, and they will introduce themselves and share some of their own information with you about themselves and also about the specifics for our agenda today. And our agenda today will focus on the challenges of time management, tips for being more productive. And in this particular session, we'd like to also emphasize the college application timelines. And our centers, for the most part, offer in-center activities, sessions, individual consultations. We also organize outreach sessions at schools and universities and throughout wherever we may be providing these services. We also include sessions with clubs, national organizations, libraries, and also we provide virtual advising. More so now than ever due to the pandemic. We, for most of our centers, we do continue to offer virtual advising, although some may be receiving some face-to-face programming, but for the most part, until further notice, most of our Education USA centers around the world continue to offer most of our programming virtually. Marwa, can you go on to the next slide? Okay, and Marwa will share with you the rest of the slides on your 5 steps to US study and our upcoming activities before we begin with our guest speakers today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sana, and thank you, Molly, for sharing your screen. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, my name is Marwa Shille, and I work with my colleague, Sana Atayam, at the Education USA Advising Center based at the Middle East office in Ramallah, Al Bira. And as you can see, the Education USA website on the screen, which is educationusa.state.gov, should be your first resource if you'd like to learn more about studying in the US. And what's great about this website that you can actually find the information according to the level of study that you are interested in. So the information is divided according to the undergraduate study, graduate study, English language programs, online programs, community colleges as well. And it is also divided up to the 5 steps to US study. And the first step is to research your options. It is really important for you to learn and find the best fit universities for you based on your goals, based on your needs. There are more than 4,000 accredited US higher education institutions, and it is really important for you to choose the best fit for you based on many things like location, you know, the number of students studying at a certain university or college, the weather, the campus environment, the different study opportunities for international students, and your major as well. The second step is to finance your studies. It is really important for you to understand how much it will cost you to attend a certain US university or college, and how much you will be able to contribute each year, and to see which universities and colleges actually offer financial aid and scholarships for international students, and whether you will qualify for these scholarships or not. The third step is to complete your application. it is really important for you to understand the application requirements, from testing to writing your application essays, completing your applications, and asking for different recommendation letters and other components as well. The fourth step, after you receive hopefully admission from a certain university or college, and you actually accept their offer as an international student, you need to apply for your student visa. And there are different instructions that you need to follow if you want to pursue your student visa. And the fifth and final step is to prepare for your departure. And for your departure, there are different documents that you need to prepare before you leave to the US. And it is really important for you to also contact the EducationUSA Advising Center in your country to attend their pre-departure orientation. And usually through the pre-departure orientations, we invite the visa counselor officer, and they talk about maintaining your student visa while in the US. Also, we invite students who are currently studying in the US or those who graduated, and they speak about their experiences as well. And it is a great opportunity for you to meet other students who will be traveling to the US as well.
So we do encourage you to follow your advising center's Facebook pages and other social media platforms so that you receive updated information and events that you may want to attend. And these are just some of the upcoming sessions that are planned. And we also, for the West Bank, we have regular virtual office hours every Sunday at 2 p.m. Next slide, please. Marwa, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm so sorry again. So other than the EducationUSA events that we schedule and offer to international students, also many US universities and colleges, they offer virtual sessions to international students as well. And what you see on the screen is just one example of many thousands examples that you can see online. So for example, for this webinar series, 5 different universities and colleges are going to discuss different topics like college search, building your application for US universities, tips for writing your college application essay, financing your studies, and admissions case study. If you are interested in certain US universities and colleges, you can actually go to their website and see what virtual sessions they offer. Sometimes they also offer, virtual sessions for students and parents. They have open Q&A, and they sometimes discuss different majors offered at that university. So take advantage of these different online sessions. Next slide, please. So if you are from the West Bank, make sure that you follow us on our social media platforms, on our Facebook page, Instagram page, and Twitter account. Also, you can watch us on Facebook. We usually upload different videos related to the US higher education system, which helps students with the process. And we also upload recordings of previous sessions. Also, if you're from the West Bank, you can contact us via our email, which you can see on the screen, ramallah@educationusa.org. If you are not from the West Bank, don't worry. You can actually find the nearest Education USA center in your country on the Education USA website, which you can see on the screen, and you can contact the Education USA advisors in your country and ask them the questions that you want. And now I'm going to hand it over to our presenters for this session, Molly and Yasmin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I am actually going to just switch screens quickly. So Yasmin, do you want to introduce yourself quickly while I do that?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Yasmin Abed, and I'm an Education USA MENA intern. I'm also a sophomore at Yale University, double majoring in political science and modern Middle Eastern studies. I'm originally from Sacramento, California, but I'm also of Palestinian descent, so it's just really great to be hosted by Education USA West Bank. I'm really excited to present to all of you today about time management and navigating the college application process and just answering any questions that you might have about either of those things.
Thank you, Yasmin. And hi, everyone. My name is Molly, and I am a graduate student currently at the University at Albany, which is in New York State, so not the city, a couple hours north of New York City. And I am also very much looking forward to this presentation. I think we have some good tips for time management. You know, whether you are like Sana and Marwa said, like whether you are going through the college application process, you have finished it, these are tips to use at any point in your career. So the first thing that we wanted to address was time management challenges, right? So what are the different components of time management that make it difficult, but that make it its own topic of importance, right? And these are some of the ideas that we came up with from our personal experiences, and we'll certainly talk to those during the presentation. But as we move through, feel free to type in, chat in your specific experiences, things that you are challenges for you specifically. And so we'll start with the list here, but essentially we all have a lot to do, right? In today's world, we are always juggling lots of things, whether it be family, friends, school, you know, college applications, whether you're in college. You know, for me personally, right now I'm a graduate student. I am working full time. I have I'm working on this internship, and you know, I have a lot of family obligations too. So there's a lot going on, and we'll talk about the strategies and tips that will really help you navigate that and be better at time management. A lot of times it's also difficult to know where to start, right? So especially with the college application process, for those of you going through that now, it is, it's a project, right? It's a big project. There's a lot of components of it, and it can be really overwhelming when you start to look at exactly what there is to do. So that can be a challenge itself. The college application also is adding more to your plate, right? So you're already really busy, and so you're having to add this to all the other things that are going on in your life, and that can be challenging as well. And there's also a lot of distractions, especially today where it's much easier to get in touch with people. You have a smartphone where you can be on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And hopefully you're looking at EducationUSA, but you know, there are a lot of things that we call time sucks, and that'll be the next thing that we talk about. And then lastly, a lot of times we feel like we don't have enough time, right? There is so much to do. We don't have enough time on our plate. There's not enough hours in the day, as they say, to get everything done. So with these challenges, we have a few activities that we wanted to go through with all of these. So this is going to require some participation on your part. And the first thing I want you to start thinking about, I mentioned just a second ago, those things in your life that take up time, that are what we call time sucks. And as we were going through this, I realized that you might not have this annotate option on your Zoom screen. Which is okay if you don't. Let me go back real quick. If you don't, there should be a panel on the bottom of your screen that says reactions. So if you can click on that, you can click on any of the emojis there. There's like a thumbs up, there's a heart, I think, a smiley face. And just right now, if you can click on that and click all over the screen, just so I know a handful of you know how to do it. Because the next activity I'm going to have you click on certain areas of the screen. So again, go ahead, and on the bottom panel, if you hover over it, there will be a button that says reactions. Click on that, and then click on the thumbs up or something like that. And actually, now that I think of it, it only appears on your picture, so that's okay. What we'll do is actually go ahead and chat in the ones that you can relate to. So anyway, let me get back to the activity. There are things in your day that take up time, right? That are not productive towards your goals, whether they be applying for college, whether they be finishing your homework for school. And these are just a few of the many examples that we came up with. So one, like I said, is social media, right? On Instagram. So like I said, go ahead and chat in some of some of the examples that you can relate to, things that take up time in your day. So for social media, they are designed to keep you engaged, right? So things like Instagram, you're on Instagram and you're clicking through people's stories and you realize an hour has disappeared and you've gotten nothing done that you needed to. That's considered a time suck. Another thing, procrastinating, right? So a lot of us, I shouldn't say you, a lot of us spend time wasting time, right? And not getting to those things that we have to finish. A lack of self-care is something that we don't always think about, but is something that, I have a lot of friends that always say, I feel so burnt out. And because of that, I'm not being able to get my work done and be productive. And a lot of times you need to take time for that self-care and pay attention to how you're feeling, to know what are some of the things that I can take out of my schedule so that I have more time to relax and recharge before I get back into what I have to do. Oh, sorry. You can only see my screen. Let me see here. Stop share and I will try again. Can you see it now? Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I had a few people chat in. That's great. Preparing for my exams, practicing the violin. So those are good examples. And I think it kind of depends on how you look at it, right? So preparing for your exams is something that is helping you towards your goal. So I might say that wouldn't necessarily be a time suck, but if you're preparing for your exams and not taking full advantage of that time and getting on social media while you're preparing for your exams and doing other things that kind of get in the way of studying so that you can prepare, that can certainly be a time suck. Zoom classes, yeah, I definitely understand those sometimes can feel like a time suck. Shopping, absolutely, I can 100% relate to that. So yeah, a lot of, one thing I want you to do after today or, after this session is to really think about, and this will tie into another activity of ours, but really think about those things in your life that take up time, that unnecessarily, again, kind of prevent you from achieving your goals on a, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And I will.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to discuss some good time management habits to keep and tips to really just stay on track. So you can use these like more generally, but they can also be applied specifically to the college application process or whatever it is that, if you're in grad school or in university right now, you can also use them as well. The first tip, really the best tip in my opinion, is to have the good habit to stay on track with all your deadlines, events, extracurriculars, homework assignments, whatever it may be, in some sort of planner or agenda. So at the start of each day, I really just like to take 5 minutes out and plan what I hope to accomplish for that day. So this is the time where you really just update your agenda, update your calendar accordingly so that you can really just establish right away, well, what are my top priorities for the day? What do I need to get done? Some people like to use a paper planner or a calendar. Others prefer to use an online planner like GCal, which is very helpful. Personally, I like to keep a journal where I separate like my homework deadlines and my extracurricular or work deadlines in different sections as just a way to kind of like organize the information. And I'm a very visual person, so I also have a whiteboard where I keep my weekly meetings and the times that we meet, and like long-term deadlines as a sort of visual tool. And that's just been really helpful for me to keep track as well. Tip number 2 is really make a project plan. So don't go into a project or into a long-term assignment without breaking it down into smaller sections, because it can be really overwhelming to think about all the work that needs to be done for a project that's due 3 months from now, 4 months from now, or in the case of college apps, 18 months from now. Like, it can seem like a daunting task. So when you break things down into smaller tasks, it makes it more manageable and just easier to track your progress as well. And it makes it seem like, okay, I am getting things done because I'm meeting my deadlines. So make sure to also do research about when deadlines are, especially for the college application process. There's going to be multiple deadlines for different parts of the application. So it's really important to just map all of those dates out so that you don't miss any. Tip number 3 is assign yourself deadlines. So really try working like bigger to smaller. So you have the larger goal of completing your college app, but there are smaller goals in between that to get there. So don't just say like, today I'm going to work on my college application in your daily plan. Break it down into smaller steps. Say, today I'm going to email my advisor, or today I'm going to write the introduction to my personal statement, whatever those tasks are. So again, it seems like, okay, I am meeting my goals, however small they may be at this point, but I'm trying to achieve this larger goal. Tip number 4, like Molly was saying, try to avoid distractions. So figure out, well, what are my time sucks, and try to figure out how can I kind of alleviate those so that I'm not wasting a lot of time. So we all struggle with staying off our phones or staying off social media when we're trying to get an assignment done. So the biggest suggestion that I have is to really just allow yourself that downtime, but be just as strict with sticking to your schedule and getting your tasks done. It's really just important to find that perfect balance. Tip number 5, set aside some time chunks. Learn what can be done in your free time and learn what needs a block of time, because we all know ourselves best and how much we can accomplish in an hour versus how much we can get done in 30 minutes. So try to have a definitive task and just a realistic time frame that you can get that task accomplished in. Tip number 6, don't procrastinate. So we're all the victims of procrastination, but really try to realize the consequences. If you don't get something done, then what are the consequences of not getting that done? Do you want to risk missing an important deadline to watch Netflix? Like, it might not seem like such a big deal in that moment, but when you're scrambling at the last minute to submit an application, it can cause you a lot of stress, which can affect the quality of the work that you produce. And I have done that before. I would procrastinate, and you're scrambling. It's just not a fun place to be in. So I really, advise against procrastinating. And another important thing to consider, which I think Molly or Sanat touched on, is that you have to really plan for the unexpected, because life happens and something could come up that may delay your ability to complete a task. And you could have avoided that had you started work earlier. And then last but not least, really just take time out for yourself, because mental health and self-care is important, and you want to make sure that you are your best self so that you can produce your best work. And like I said earlier, balance is really key here. It doesn't do you any good to stress without reflecting on the benefits or the rewards of your efforts. So you want to make time for things that do make you happy. And especially for college applications, they are a reflection of who you are. So you want to be the best version of yourself as you're completing them. And we can go to the next slide, Molly. And so I'm just going to run through the college application timeline. I'm sure you've all heard this before, but it's just really great to really think about this and keep these general dates in mind and use the tips that we've sort of talked about so far to make a plan, apply them to your college application process so it can be as smooth as possible. So around 18 to 24 months before the college apps are due, this is the point at which you would be researching schools and just registering and preparing for entrance exams. So very preliminary stuff. Setting up an advising session with an EducationUSA advisor like Sanat or Marwa. The next step would be 12 to 18 months before. This is where you would start to narrow down your list of schools and get a better idea of, okay, well, where do I want to go and what do I need to do to get there? So we're going from the more general to the more specific as we start getting to the end of this list. And you would also start researching requirements for each school. So you have a better idea of, okay, what do I need to get done from now till such and such date? And you would also, again, prepare for and start taking these entrance exams. Then the third step, this is around 10 to 12 months before, speak with your teachers and counselors to get letters of recommendation. So you always want to do this in advance because it can take a while to get these in. So you just want to make sure that you're getting ahead of the game, request your transcripts, and start writing those application essays, super important. 8 to 10 months before, retake exams if needed. So if you start earlier on your exams, then you're leaving yourself space to be able to go back and take another one and potentially do better. And then this is the point where you would also complete and submit your college app. And then 3 to 5 months before, this is where you select the school you'll attend, you apply for your student visa, and you attend the Education USA pre-departure orientation. And then, of course, number 6, the most exciting part of the process, which we all, work hard to get to, is where you finalize your housing, pack your bags, and attend orientation on campus. And, getting to that point is really what we all strive to do. And it's really exciting. And if you can really just manage your time properly, the process will hopefully be less stressful as well. Okay, so this is another activity that we're going to work on today. It's called the Tiger Time activity. So Tiger Time is the period of the day where you are most productive and you get the most work done. So this is really the time where your mind is most fresh, you get real work done, you're the most energized, the most focused, and just ready to work. So this activity is really just meant to help you determine, well, what is eating up my time, and help you create a schedule around that. So we can go to the next slide, Molly. So this is just a blank schedule, which I believe everyone's going to get. I think we're going to send it out in email, where you would just fill in different activities or tasks during the respective time blocks for each day and time. So you would and then 6 to 8 p.m., that's what I consider my Tiger Time. And again, this time is different for everyone. It's really just important to figure out what your time is so that you can make the best use of it. And typically, like I said, I like to spend that time completing like summer applications for internships or getting caught up on work assignments or whatever it is that I haven't been able to do during the day. I really like to get it done then, because that's when I've found myself to just be the most productive and the most ready to work. And I think, Molly, you can take it from here.
Thank you. And is it still sharing? Because like green. Yeah, okay, wonderful, thank you. So the last few things we wanted to discuss was potential roadblocks, right? So you have taken all of our advice to heart, you have gotten together a planner, you've thought about kind of the bigger picture of things, you've broken up your projects, and there certainly will be roadblocks along the way. Even as organized as you can be, there are things that will take up more of your time than you expect. And one of those things is that a project is taking too long, right? So you, for example, in the college application process, maybe the personal statement is taking you longer than you thought, right? Maybe it's taking you more hours in the day, you want some more feedback. And really what's important is the tip that we have for you is to know when to adjust. So that schedule, let's say that you had this 6 to 9 p.m. scheduled time for that productive time. there are certain, leave gaps in your schedule so that you can have an afternoon where you know that if you did have extra work, that could certainly fill into that as well. And know when to add that time to adjust your plan, so that you can, of course, ultimately achieve your goal. The second thing is that so many things come up in life, right? Maybe you get sick, maybe a loved one gets sick, there's some sort of life event that happens. And so, expect the unexpected as best as you can, and really be able to pivot. Leave that space for changes. Like I said, have that ability to, have some flexibility in your schedule so that when things do come up, you have that ability to switch to another time to work, even if it's not in your best, tiger time productivity period of time. Know that you do have that time to spare. And that really ties into procrastinating. And that, of all of the advice, it's the easiest thing to say, but for a lot of people that can be the most challenging, because sometimes, doing work is not as fun or mindless as scrolling on Instagram or watching Netflix, but scheduling your time will make things so much less challenging for you, and will really ultimately get you to that goal and give you that time that you need to put forward your best college application. So it's really important for lots of reasons to be best at time management, but especially because it allows you to put your best foot forward, because you do have that time to get that work done, and you're not scrambling at the last minute to get it done and maybe not putting in your best effort. So I saw a chat come in. So the next slide is questions. So we have plenty of time to address questions, and then we have one final activity. But let me read this first one here. Okay, so Shayla says, I'm a senior, I've applied to the US, I'm now waiting for my decisions, but we have a great challenge to keep my anxiety aside and work on my tasks at school. What should I do? Yes, that is a really good question, Shayla. So if you are in, and actually, Yasmin, you have maybe more relevant experience since you're in undergraduate school now. But I'll say something, and then Yasmin, of course, if you have anything to add. So Shayma, I can certainly relate. For me, when there's when I'm just waiting for the results of something, I have a really hard time focusing. But again, I think that the best advice from me would be to really channel that energy as best as you can into your projects. So, and the things you have going on. So, do your best to give your full attention to schoolwork, and maybe give yourself some time after that to do things that are really fun for you. And I know it can be challenging in a pandemic to do all the things that you want to, but try to, in the best way that you can without overwhelming yourself, try to fill up your time so that you have less time to worry about that application process. And also, something that I tell myself a lot is that decision at this point is out of your control, right? So the only thing that you can do at this point is know that you put your best foot forward, and hopefully the universe will return that energy to you, and you'll have a positive feedback from positive result from your application. But anyway, Yasmin, would you add anything?
Yeah, I would say, that's definitely like the most nerve-wracking period, because you don't know. But like Molly said, you really can't change anything at that point. And so the best thing to really just do is, like she said, channel that energy into something else productive, and really just think about, okay, I've completed the hard part, and now there's only like good things to come. And even now, even though I've applied to college and I'm in college now, and I thought that the hard part was over, you're still always applying to things, you're waiting to hear back. Even once you graduate, you apply to jobs, you wait to hear back. that's just a constant, obstacle that you're going to come up in life. And so it's really just a good idea to kind of, okay, just this is the part of the process where you would reward yourself and just really consider that you've worked hard, and now it's time to just think about like the future, and even start thinking about planning, like make a contingency plan. Like if I go here, what do I plan to do? If I get into this particular school, what do I plan to do? I wouldn't stress about it. I would just really just take that time and spend it with family, relax, focus on school, because like Molly said, at that point, all the work that you've done is sealed. And so you're just kind of in that limbo state. It's hard to say not to stress. And I was definitely stressing, but it definitely, you feel a great relief once you hear back. So I think I'm sure things will work out perfect for you, Shema.
So another question from Boris is, he talks about multitasking basically. So is one solution for time management doing multiple things at once to really, save up on time? And the other idea is outsourcing some responsibilities. So I love the idea of outsourcing. I think that can certainly tie into time sucks, right? So what are things that, and actually on one of the slides, or on the time sucks slide, one of them was saying no. That is, and I didn't even address that, but that is a huge component of things that take up your time. And I am always guilty of that. I just don't want to tell people no, right? Because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but there comes a time when you have to be really protective of your schedule and your time, and you need to say no to when people ask you to do things. And I think if you can outsource those those responsibilities by saying no, and maybe offering somebody you do know who could help with that project, for example, that is an excellent idea, Boris. And I think that that's something you can certainly, that's great advice for the group. And then the piece about multitasking, and Yasmin, I'd love to hear your feedback on this too, but I think that something that my uncle says, he's kind of a grumpy man, but he says that, and I can't think of exactly how he says it, but basically the idea is that when you're doing more than one thing at once, you're not giving either thing your full attention. So if it's this is kind of I'm painting it with a broad brush, right? So there are of course things that you could do simultaneously, like listening to a podcast and taking your dog for a walk was the idea that Boris mentioned. I think that's perfectly, if the podcast is something that you're interested in, that's perfectly fine. But I do think there is a time and a place for giving, especially projects, your full attention, so that you're, again, putting your best foot forward, right? And giving it all of the energy that it needs to be your best work. Yasmin, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I've also tried multitasking, and I think it just really depends on like what the tasks are. Like I know that there's certain homework that if I do, and I also like listen to a podcast or hang out with friends, that it's possible. Another good idea is, if you are trying to get in that time, like friendship time or just spending time with friends, but you also need to get an assignment done, I like to kind of do like a study group where we all work on our own stuff. So we'll go to a cafe together and we'll say, okay, we're all setting aside 2 hours of our time to complete internship applications. And so we're able to kind of spend that time together while also kind of working on something productive. And it kind of makes it more fun as well, because you're able to break up that 2 hours with like 5 minutes of chit chat here and there. So you feel productive, but at the same time, you're also like, okay, that was some sort of like social event that I was able to get in. And so you feel like, okay, I was being productive, but I also was able to make time for friends. But generally, I found that multitasking doesn't necessarily work for bigger projects like Molly was saying. So if you have like a big task, like writing your college application essay, I would really say that that would be time that you would work on that college application essay and don't spend time doing other things, because it's very easy to get distracted and just, you know, your work won't be the best if you're thinking about two different things and trying to accomplish these two different things. Like, our brains can do a lot, but that is just too much probably stimulation for them. So I would try to separate things just to kind of, you know, make it clear. And you'll probably finish things done quicker as well if you just say, this is an hour where I am doing this, you get it done, and then you sort of like move on to the next thing, break it up with half an hour of relaxing or dinner, whatever it may be.
Osman asked if we could share especially the schedule on time management. Definitely, we can certainly share that, and we'll send a couple of resources out via email when we're done today. So good question. And then Yasmin, do you want to start with this? The question from Isam is, can you tell us more about your experience as students who enrolled at American universities, including campus environment, work opportunities or internships, and academics?
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently a sophomore at Yale University, as I mentioned earlier. Campus environment, really the best campus in my opinion. I was able to visit here like a couple months before I enrolled, and really just great. Everyone at university is just here to learn, and that's just the best thing about it. The culture is just so collaborative, and you just learn from so many of your peers. Like I came here and was, you know, looking forward to the classes, which are great, but really the most that I've learned is from other people's life experiences and just everything that everyone else brings to the table. So it's just been really great in that sense. In terms of work opportunities, I do work study. I'm a political science research assistant in the political science department. Internships, I've been very blessed to work with EducationUSA. I also work at a nonprofit in New Haven, which is where Yale is located, and I work with refugee and immigrant women on education. I'm very passionate about education and the refugee area. Like I said, I'm a political science, modern Middle Eastern studies major. So again, if any of those things are of interest to anyone, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk about those things. And academics, really approaching academics at college was definitely like something that I really had to adjust to. High school, you know, your teachers tell you, okay, such and such thing is due now, and they continue to remind you. You don't get those reminders in college. They'll send you an email and it's one and done. If you miss it, then that's just kind of like, you have to figure it out. So really all of these tips that I spoke about earlier are things that I really do use in my life. Like, on my desk, I have a whiteboard that has my class schedule. I have a calendar above my laptop right now. I have an agenda, and you really need all of those things to keep track of your time. And I would just say that it's just been really great to kind of apply those things to my real life. And college is great. I really hope that you guys all enjoy your time. And again, let me know if you have any questions about, you know, any more detailed questions about anything that I've mentioned.
I would also, and yeah, we will share our emails at the end of the presentation, so you can take note of those. And like Yasmin said, we're both happy to answer any questions. So my experience, I right now, like I said, I'm in graduate school, and I attended undergrad a few years ago now. And I went to a women's college. So some of you, you know, that may not be an experience some of you will be able to take advantage of, being a male, but I also should note, you know, it's difficult for me as an American to really explain the campus environment, because that's something that I was able, and maybe you would be too, but able to experience before deciding which school I wanted to attend. So, you know, that's always, for American students, that's always the first advice I have, is to go visit the campus. You know, there's a lot of things that you can pick up just from being on campus for the first time. But at the same time, a lot of schools have online, a lot of virtual resources that you can kind of help understand the campus environment and how it might suit you. And I think, similar to a lot of what we've been talking about in this presentation is understanding what components are important to you, right? So are you interested in a smaller campus where you might form more of a community aspect of relationships? Or do you want to join a big campus where there's tons of activities for you to join? There's always something going on. And for me, I am a quieter person. I like to have, smaller groups of friends. And for that reason, I chose this smaller school. And it suited me and it worked really well. And like Yasmin said, everybody was there to learn. It was a wonderful experience. And I think it certainly is something that you contribute to as well, right? Like I said earlier, the energy that you put into something is often and hopefully the energy that you'll get out. So I think that's one key component of it. But that has, that energy, putting the energy out there, has to do with work opportunities, internships, speaking to your EducationUSA advisor, speaking to your advisor at school once you are in the program, and really taking advantage of all of those opportunities that are available to you as a college student so that you can find more opportunities like a work opportunity or an internship, and certainly more academic opportunities as well. One other question, and I think this is a good one. They're all wonderful questions. I shouldn't say that, but this student is a high school senior and it's hard for them to find motivation to be productive. I feel bad for not working or crossing off tasks from my to-do list. Any advice? And I would say this, I can definitely, I understand this as well, this idea of not finding the motivation to do something and do your work. And as counterproductive as this sounds, I find that the busier I am, the more like structured my day is, the more likely I am to get things done. And I'm not saying to, take on a whole bunch of new projects and overwhelm yourself with work so that you get more work done. But there's an expression that if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And I think that, the more that you can, like I say, structure your time. So maybe, add a few things in your day that you start to do regularly, like research, for example, if you're in the college application process, research colleges. As a high school senior, you might kind of be past that point where you're in that waiting phase, but find things that that you enjoy and fill up some of your time with that, so that when it comes time to needing to be productive and finding motivation, you have that time to do that. And you know that that's your task for that period of time. And that's your to-do list at that point. Would you add anything to that, Yasmin?
The only little point I would make is I kind of like to do an almost like reward system. So I tell myself, if I get this thing done in this amount of time, then I will hang out with friends, or I will reward myself by spending 20 minutes, reading a book for leisure, whatever it may be. So that's just like a motivation type of thing. So you can kind of look at it like that, like I'll reward myself this amount of time of freedom if I accomplish this task. So really, just like Molly said, if you get in the habit of being structured with your time and being stricter on yourself, you'll kind of feel the sense of, okay, I can't spend time doing this because if I don't work on this, then this other thing I won't have time to do. So really creating like a detailed schedule will make it clear in your mind, I need to get this done in this amount of time in order to finish whatever I need to get done today.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, can we address, the first question I think was from an attendee from Morocco, Suhail, and he asked about the TOEFL exam. allowed us to spend time outdoors and be with our friends and family and doing all kinds of extracurricular activities and volunteer work and community service. And so I think this past year or so has been very challenging for so many of us. And so we understand that, and that's normal. But I think the tools and tips that Yasmin and Molly shared with us today, I think will help you begin the process of really, looking at your time in a more structured way. And the tool that they've shared with us, I think would be a very good start for you to choose whichever works for you. And you may try different things, and realize that, okay, this particular tool is much more applicable to my own needs. And so be responsive to that and be open to the various options available to you, and don't feel that extra pressure, and reach out. And very important to reach out to those around you, to your school counselor, to EducationUSA advisors, and our colleagues Yasmin and Molly have also shared their emails, and I think they will share their email on the next slide or so. So reach out to them if you have any questions related to our conversation today. And I think I'll leave it with the task that you have for the attendees to possibly share. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly explain this activity. So it's called the WOOP activity, which stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, and Plan. And the activity is just really meant to help you set goals and think about what the ideal outcomes for those goals are. And if Molly would go to the next slide, I'll just kind of run through the sheet that we're going to give to everyone. So the W just stands for wish. Ask yourself, what's an important wish that you hope to accomplish? And so this is a goal that should be important to you. It should be attainable, but also challenging as well. And then think about, well, what is the outcome? What is the best result from accomplishing your wish? How will you feel? And this will just give you motivation to achieve that wish or that goal. So this should really just be the single best outcome of achieving the goal for you. And then you have your obstacle. So this is where you would write out, well, what is the main obstacle that might prevent you from achieving or accomplishing your wish? So this obstacle should be something internal, something that you can control, maybe like looking at Instagram or just, procrastinating like that, not something external that you don't have control over. And then that's where you would make a plan. So what is an effective action that you can take to tackle this obstacle? So the planned actions should really just be promoting your goal. So the action should be one that you plan to enact in the moment that an obstacle arises. So for example, if you're looking at Instagram posts, then your plan of action is, I'm going to turn off my phone and work on a part of my college application. And so this activity is really just meant for you to envision and visualize, well, what is it that I want to achieve and how can I get there? And this is a great tool to use to start with those small steps. So having 4 of these and really just creating like this visual idea of, okay, what is it that I need to do to get to where I want to be? Thank you everyone for attending and for listening today. I really just hope Molly and I were able to provide you with some good tips and habits and just a better understanding of what it means to manage your time. And like I said earlier, feel free to reach out to me through email about time management, the college application process, Yale, or anything else I've said that's been of interest to you. I know the college application process is really daunting and long, but I promise that it really is all worth it once you get to a school that you worked hard for.
And
much for your time, and Sana and Marwa, thank you very much for hosting us. And reach out if you have questions, and we will also send the time, or the timeline, and also the WOOP activity out, so you have that to use if you choose.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much, both of you, Yasmin and Molly, and thank you, Marwa. for facilitating this session, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with you for future sessions, hopefully. Thank you so much for your time, and please remember, all of you who are have attended this session with us, please reach out to your Education USA Advising Center nearest you. And for any questions, or if you're having difficulty reaching out, please feel free to reach out to us directly at Education USA West Bank, and we'll be happy to refer you to the respective Education USA Advising Center. Thank you so much, and hope everyone stays safe and have a wonderful day.